Looks like it'll be a nice day today for this trip. Clear skies and not much wind. From the boat launch, it takes about 15 minutes to get through the no-wake zone and out onto the lake. On my return trip, I was able to see this power plant all the way from Fox Island. The water was a little more choppy than forecast today, so it took me about an hour to get out there from the mainland. Land on this beach on the east side toward the south end of the island. North Fox Island is a beautiful, forested, uninhabited island surrounded by the Caribbean blue waters of Lake Michigan. Looking at Google Earth, I thought that this was a sandy beach. I decided not to stay here. The waves were grinding the bottom of my boat on the rocks, and I didn't want to risk having stones get up into the jet pump intake. If you approach the island from this east side, watch for rocks. There are some big boulders lurking just beneath the surface. The island is shaped like an upside-down teardrop. However, to some the tear is one of sadness rather than joy because North Fox Island hides a dark and shameful past. I feel I need to review the dark past of this island in order to present the man-made features which we'll see later in proper context. In 1960, a wealthy man named Francis Sheldon purchased the island from a private owner, paying $20,000 for the whole island. While it's impossible to know all of Sheldon's reasons for buying the island, it seems that a part of his motivation was the seclusion the island offered as a suitable base of operations for child pornography activities. Sheldon was a former Michigan Air National Guard pilot and had his own private plane. The first improvement he made after buying his new piece of real estate was the construction of an airstrip which would allow him to easily commute to and from the island. He then built a house and a cabin that would serve as living quarters for his guests, namely innocent young boys and occasionally well-to-do pedophiles. Sheldon and his accomplice Gerald Richards established Brother Paul's Nature Camp on North Fox Island circa 1975. This was a front organization that enabled Sheldon to evade taxes and coerce innocent young boys to the island in the summer months to serve as models for his child pornography pursuits. Brother Paul's was advertised as a summer camp for disadvantaged boys where they could experience hiking, swimming, and camping out in nature. Richards was also a gym teacher at a parochial school and was able to lure many innocent young boys to the nature camp. But a few years after teaming up with Sheldon, Richards got caught and was reported to the authorities for sexually molesting a young boy. Gerald Richards was arrested on July 23, 1975, on charges of criminal sexual conduct. It is believed that he then called his friend and associate Frank Sheldon, telling him about his recent arrest and that the authorities were closing in on his island operation. Just days after Richards' arrest, Frank Sheldon disappeared. A warrant for his arrest was issued in late 1976, and a search warrant was issued for his home in Ann Arbor. Unfortunately, he had already escaped with his airplane months earlier. Sheldon fled to the Netherlands but was never extradited. He lived out the rest of his life there and reportedly died of natural causes in Amsterdam in 1996. Gerald Richards ended up serving only about 2 years in prison, and he died in Port Huron, Michigan in 1994. North Fox Island was purchased by real estate magnate David Johnson in 1994 for $1.3 million. In the year 2000, Johnson sold the island to the state of Michigan for $2.2 million, and it remains under the ownership of the state to this day. If you follow your GPS to these coordinates, you can access the end of the airstrip from the water, but be aware it's a steep climb from the beach up to the airstrip. This beautiful 3,000-foot grass strip was reopened to the public in 2015 by the Recreational Aviation Foundation. Their members do a great job of maintaining this airstrip. What used to be Frank Sheldon's private airstrip is now open to the public for a good cause, thanks to the RAF. There's a picnic area on the north side of this strip, and rustic camping is allowed year-round on the sides of the airstrip. They just ask that you keep the area neat, tidy, and free of trash for the next travelers. Dispersed camping on the remainder of the island is from mid-September to mid-May. If you look to the south, you'll find a trail that heads back into the woods. So far the bugs haven't been too bad. There's been a few mosquitoes, but other than that, nothing. If you follow this trail for about a half a mile, you'll come to a fork in the trail. Take the right fork toward the shoreline, and you'll find what remains of the buildings that Sheldon constructed. Looks like at one time this was a nice lodge overlooking the water. It's got a fireplace, and it was a nice structure, it looks like. I later learned that this structure was the main house that Sheldon had built on the island, and that it was deliberately burned down in an act of arson sometime after Sheldon's departure. Surprised it's not locked. Okay, this cabin is obviously being maintained by someone. It's nice the cabin's still here. Could serve as an emergency shelter for someone if they ever got stranded. You can see South Fox Island. Nice little beach here. Looks like it's a little more sandy than the ones on the east side. North Fox remains a beautiful, pristine island. If you plan to make a trip out here, check the weather forecast and plan carefully, as weather and water conditions can change quickly. Bring emergency supplies and equipment just in case.